Hi everyone, this is Bonnie from Good Earth Spa. What you're watching right now is an edited short version of the live show that I did making the organic frankincense soap. If you would like to see the live show, then please go to my other videos and you'll be able to find it there, or click on the annotations or check under the video where I'll also post links. I've edited out a lot of the things in the downtime, such as measuring and stirring and things like that. Since it was a live show, there was a lot of also goofing around and questions and answers. So if you're interested in any of that, then just go over and view the live show. But what you're about to see is an edited short version. Thanks for stopping by. I am here today with my first live show, and today I'm going to be making organic frankincense soap. The soap that I'm going to be making today is going to be made with some organic coconut oil, organic olive oil, organic cocoa butter, and obviously we need sodium hydroxide to saponify it or turn it into soap. And the first thing that I wanted to go over is, how do you come up with your numbers and this and that, the boring math part. So once you figure out how much of each one you want to use, you can use a lye calculator. That would be the easiest way for a beginner. And right here I have the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetics Guild, which I'm a professional member. If you're interested in membership, then also you can contact me about that. I can help you there. So there's a lot of them where you just kind of plug in your numbers and it does the math for you. But really quick, I'm going to run through how to do the math yourself, which if you ever want to get a soap making certification, you're going to need to know how to do that. So first, we'll just be checking the numbers. You need to know the sap value, and the sap value here for the olive oil, it says 190, and for the coconut oil it says 256.5. The first thing you have to do is divide them by 1,000 or just move over the decimal place. So it should look like 0.19 for the olive oil, and it should look like 0.2565 for the coconut oil. Now I'm working in ounces because that's what we use here in America, but if you were anywhere else in the world or everywhere else in the world, then you'd be wanting to work in grams. So it doesn't matter, whichever one you start with is going to give you the same math, the same numbers. So if you want to convert everything that I'm doing over to grams, then pull up a separate browser window, do Google search for ounces to grams, and the first thing that comes up will give you a conversion calculator. So I have 23 ounces of olive oil, 23 ounces of coconut oil, and we're going to do 5 ounces of cocoa butter. Also, the sap value for cocoa butter is 196, so we're going to change that to 0.196. And I'm just going to use my calculator app here to figure it out. So what you do is, say you're doing the olive oil, you go 0.190, multiply that by your 23 ounces, and you get the potassium hydroxide value. Now don't worry about that now, we're going to change that in a bit. So write down 4.37, because that's how much potassium hydroxide that you would need. But potassium hydroxide is for liquid soap. We're going to convert that. And now you want to do that again for your coconut oil. So 23 ounces times 0.2565 gives you 5. We're going to round it up to 5.9 because it's so close. It's 5.89995. So now I'm going to do the same thing for cocoa butter, and in this recipe, instead of doing a super fat, I'm going to be doing a discount. So without going into explaining everything, I'm trying to stay focused here. Now we're going to do, okay, so 0.196 is the sap value for the cocoa butter times 5 ounces. The 0.98. Okay, then you add those 3 up together. So really quick, let's add 0.98 plus 5.9 plus 4.37. And if you were making a 100% saponified potassium soap, then you would need 11.25 ounces of potassium hydroxide. but we're making a sodium soap, so we want a hard bar soap, not a liquid soap. So in order to change this, because the density of sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide are different, we need to multiply this number by 0.713. 0.713 is really easy to remember because you have the lucky number and the unlucky number. That's how I remember it. So you multiply that times 0.713. Oops, I did it wrong. Hard to do with gloves. And then you get to 8.02125. So 8.02125 would be how much sodium hydroxide lye you would need if your soap was going to be fully saponified. Now, we're not going to fully saponify it because you don't want your soap to be lye heavy. Theoretically, it shouldn't be lye heavy, but since there's actually a little bit of a difference in what the actual sap value could be, we want to discount it, and we also want to make sure that the bar is really softening on the skin, so we don't want to fully saponify it. Here you can see already that my calculations are correct because the 0% superfat here right on the chart, if you want to just, you know, the lye calculator will do it all for you. I'm just going through the math with you so that in case, I don't know, the whole world comes to an end and we don't have calculators or computers anymore, then you'll know how to do it by yourself with your brain. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to take your number 8.02125 and you need to multiply it by 0.95, which will take out 5% of it. So let's, maybe it's easier to do knuckles, times 0.95, which means we're getting 95% of that number. So now it brings you down to 7.62. So 7.62. So now I just found all the math myself. I went through it all longhand, but you can see over here in the 5% line that we got the exact same number. So if you can do it by yourself and you can use a lye calculator online, you can double check your math so that it's easier for you, so that you know you're doing it right. It's a really easy way to double check yourself, especially if you're just starting off. So, okay, so now let's get to the soap making. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mix the lye water because it needs to be mixed thoroughly and it needs to be able to cool down. So, first thing you do is measure the water. So let's do that. You need a scale for all of your soap making measurements. Everything is done by weight. And we use distilled water because we don't want anything in the water. You can also use reverse osmosis water. And we are going to be using, also for the future, whatever, you can just double your lye amount and that will give you a correct amount or a suitable amount for your water. I'm not going to go into all the advanced water discounting and all that stuff here. So we need 15.2 ounces of water. I need to change this so I can see it actually. Alright, so I actually have 15.5 and that's not a big deal, but this here is what I'm planning on, and then like I have a batch record sheet, so I'm going to write down what I actually have over here for my own records. So 15.5 water. Okay, a regular plastic container like this is just fine for measuring lye, so we want to be measuring 7.62 or 7.6 here. Your water can be a little bit off, but you don't want your lye to be off. Okay, so it's important to know that you always add your lye to your water. You don't add your water to your lye. It can volcano and all that stuff, and it does make fumes. So say you have asthma, or you know, you just don't want to breathe them in, you can put on a mask like this. It's like a respirator mask or a doctor mask. Do wear goggles and gloves when you're dealing with lye. It shouldn't get too fumy, but I'm going to move it a little bit farther away from my body. And we're going to mix this in. I don't know if you can see the fumes coming up there, but they are, so I'm just kind of standing back. I have a mask over my face a little bit. In fact, if I just sit down, I'll be lower so the fumes won't get me. So you can see that it's gotten all cloudy. It's also gotten very hot, so I'm going to show you here with my infrared thermometer. That is in Fahrenheit. It's up to 129 degrees. Sometimes it gets even hotter, so you just want to mix this. It'll get hot, then it'll slowly cool down, and it will also become clear. So you want it to be mixed thoroughly until it's all dissolved in there. I'm going to mix this intermittently. Alright, so this is kind of starting to clear up, that you can see it's not as cloudy as it was. And I'm going to go ahead and start measuring my solid ingredients. And I will be mixing this intermittently as well. Okay, the fumes kind of stopped, so I can take the mask off. Here is my mixing pot. Oh, you know what? I didn't get my stick blender either. I'm going to have to run for that in just a minute. Okay, so first I'm going to measure my cocoa butter. I'm going to measure my solid ingredients first and get them melted, and then do my other ones. So here's my block of cocoa butter that's just absolutely wonderful and smells like chocolate. Okay, so actually I'm going to turn this sideways, that way I can see it too, not just you. Alright, so I said we're doing 5 ounces of cocoa butter. I find that the best way for me to cut the cocoa butter is to use a crinkle cutter. It seems to work really well, because sometimes this stuff can be really, really hard to get to cut and break up. Alright, so we'll start measuring it out to 5 ounces. Coconut oil, which I have under the table over here in a big old bucket. So I'll try to show you really quick so you can see if you're looking for coconut oil. This is the organic coconut oil. It's heavy, and it came from Soaper's Choice. So they sell some good quality bulk oils there that you can purchase. And there's also a lot of other places that sell it too. So you just, shop around and you'll be able to find it. So here I am looking for 23 ounces of coconut oil. So I use an ice cream scoop and just kind of do my best to scoop it in. Okay. So now that we have all of the hard oils there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on the stove and get them warmed up and start melting them. Okay. So we'll check the temperature of this lye water. It's at 113 now, so that's good. It's getting closer to about what we want. And you can also see that it's nice and clear. Oh yeah, you know what I forgot to go over with the math part was figuring out how much essential oil to use. So you pretty much I'm going to do it at 5%. So instead of, you take your oils here. If you have a super fat chart on your lye calculator, then you just slide it over to the 5% and pick whatever that is. If not, then you just take your amount of oils and multiply that by 0.05 and you'll get 5%. So I'm going to be using frankincense, as I said, and I'm using this mason jar here to measure my frankincense oil. And I'm going to go grab a stick really quick. Hold on a second. Actually, wait, I think I have a stick. Yeah, I have a stick right here. Okay, I'm going to tell you what the stick is for. First, let's turn on the scale. This is frankincense essential oil. So essential oil is different than fragrance in that it's natural and not synthetic. So that's what I prefer. A little trick with pouring your essential oils is that you would take a stick and go like this and then pour it, and it will help guide it so that you don't spill any or have any drips. So what was my 2.55 ounces is what I'm going for. Oh, look, exactly. Wow, I'm so good. Now, if I weren't filming, it would be all over the place and everything, but it actually worked out because I'm live. All the coconut oil is melted, and I'm just waiting on the cocoa butter. The oils are at about 100 degrees. Oh, we have melted oils. Perfect. So there's just 2 little solid chunks left. And I'm just going to let those melt the rest of the way before I add the olive oil, because it's going to take the temperature down significantly when I add in the cooler oil. Is my olive oil that, of course, I buy in these big old containers. And this is organic extra virgin olive oil, which is available at Soaper's Choice. Look, it's so nice it has a halo. Alright, let me take the halo off. Okay, goodbye halo. Okay, so these are really neat containers too, because as you pour out with the little spout, it doesn't let air in. So that's a really good feature of these containers, these little spout packs or whatever they call them, I don't know. So I'm looking for 23 ounces. .05 is what I have actual, so I'm going to write that down on my batch record. There we have oils. They're all melted. Now let's see what the temperature is. Now it's 103, so it's absolutely perfect. Let's see if I'm not forgetting anything, which I don't think I am. Don't want to forget the frankincense oil, so I'll put it right in front of my face so you can see that. And I'm not forgetting anything, and the lye is dissolved all the way. My soap molds are on standby. In fact, let me just, before I start mixing, let me just bring the soap mold over here. And this is the soap mold I'm going to be using today, and this is the loaf mold from Central Depot, where they used to do red. Now they have some clear ones, so, which I thought would be, you know, good to try out the new clear one. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on standby inside the little support basket. And if you were wondering why I have this, it's because my boxes are so long, and in order to tell if my loaf is the right height for my boxes, I'm going to be using this as a dipstick to make sure that I have the right level, because that's how tall I want my bars to be, so they fit in the boxes. Okay. Now, so you can kind of see in the bowl right now that the soap is starting to emulsify. Okay. There you go. You see it? Alright, so now I'm going to take my blender and start mixing it. I got some bubbles. You can kind of, like, you know, bend your bowl or tilt it, whichever term you use, and you can mix it to avoid bubbles if your level is shallow. Also, an important thing to note is I'm using stainless steel, which is safe for soap, and most plastics are safe for soap, but aluminum is not safe for soap. Don't make soap or mix lye in an aluminum container. Lye in an aluminum container. Just don't do it. Aluminum reacts with the lye. The soap trace is basically when the soap is set up enough so that when you start to drizzle soap across the surface, instead of just, you know, breaking it, you can actually see it trace lines over the top. So that's when you'll know that you can mold your soap. And a thin trace would be that you can just barely see it, and a thicker trace would look more like pudding soap. So frankincense oil is just awesome, and there is a reason it has been just absolutely revered for centuries, and that reason is because it's awesome. Essential oils, and especially fragrances, when you add them, a lot of times they'll set up really quick, and if it does set up quick, they say it accelerates, and really the soap is always, soap making is always setting up. So it's setting up right now as we speak, and it's setting up very slowly. But certain things will cause soap to accelerate. Like, for example, if you were to add alcohols to the soap, that would cause the soap to accelerate, which means speed up, and which basically means it would get thicker quicker. But the frankincense oil does not seem to change the pace of the soap at all. It's, you know, slowly setting up so that it's just gradually getting solid, and it will continue to do that. So now I have my soap mold here, and I'm going to start pouring soap into the soap mold. And when you see soap makers do things like textured tops and everything, they're waiting until the soap gets to be thicker, and they're causing the tops to be textured by basically playing with them with either sticks or spoons or whatever makes them happy. I used to do a lot of textured tops, but I'm not into it as much anymore. I just kind of gotten to the point where I like plain soap. Alright, so I've gotten to the soap level that I want, so I have another mold over here that I'm going to use to put the extras in. I have this little 1-pound mold, which is great for whenever you have extras, or if you like to work in really small batches. This would make like 4 bars of soap for me for the size I use. And this is from Brambleberry. So if you're interested in this little 1-pound mold, you want to make small batches, just okay. So yesterday we made this soap together. We'll start with the small one. This is an organic soap that we made with coconut oil, olive oil, and cocoa butter. Yeah, put that there. Alright, so I'm going to be using my red soap cutter and cutting them into 1-inch bars. The soap is a little bit soft still. You don't want to cut really hard soap with the wire cutters. Alright, so there you have it. It looks like we got a little bit of a partial jet. Okay, so here is the large loaf, cutting the frankincense soap loaf. And I'm just lining it up here so that I make sure I have 2 nice end cuts. When I do my pH testing, I will just use the end cut, so that way all my bars are just, you know, good usable bars. I need some more pressure. Stand up. There we go. Okay, so here are the frankincense bars. So thanks everyone for tuning in today. You can find me on Facebook, Good Earth Spa. Let's see, facebook.com/Good Earth Spa. You can also find me on Twitter at Good Earth Spa.